Right, today we're going to start discussing the critical essay at National 5, and in your class you are going to be studying First World War poetry. Just to remind you, the National 5 exam comprises two papers. First of all, there is the close reading, the reading for understanding, analysis and evaluation. It's worth 30 marks and you're given an hour to complete that. Paper 2 is the one that we're going to focus on just now. The critical reading paper, it lasts 1 hour 30 minutes and comprises the Scottish text, which is worth 20 marks, and the critical essay, which is worth 20 marks. We'll speak about the Scottish text more later. The critical essay is what we're interested in just now, and you'll see from that timing that you've got roughly 45 minutes to complete this under exam conditions, and that will include choosing the question, planning it, writing it, and checking it. It's important to note that your critical essay must be a different genre from the Scottish text. This term, our critical essay, is going to be on poetry. In the exam, you will always have two choices in the questions for any given genre. You're only required, of course, to write one essay. To summarise here, you will be judged on your understanding of the central ideas in the poem, together with your analysis of the writer's techniques, and also on the strength of your evaluation, your personal reaction to the poem, as well as your ability to communicate a line of argument clearly. We'll take a closer look at the SQA marking criteria later on, but just looking at that final bullet point, just to remind you there that the accuracy, technical accuracy of your writing is really important too. You need to make sure that your spelling and punctuation and grammar is all correct. This is something that you're judged on in this part of the exam, where you might not be judged on that in other areas, for example, close reading. In the exam, you will always be reminded in the question paper of features and techniques that you should consider discussing within the essay. And I've just copied that below here in inverted commas. So answers to questions in this part should refer to the text and to such relevant features as word choice, tone, imagery, structure, content, rhyme, rhythm, theme, sound, ideas. That snippet there is just to kind of keep you on track and make sure that you are including things in your essay that you should be including. Let's take a look at some of the questions, or the two questions from the 2019 paper. The first question is the one that we're actually going to be working towards in our poetry study. Choose a poem that you found memorable. By referring to appropriate techniques, explain why you found the poem memorable. So it's a very generic, very straightforward question here. You need to make sure you address the question, of course, and the key word is memorable, and another key word is technique. So you need to make sure that you're addressing the question appropriately. But we do have a unit study later on after our study of the poems to really concentrate on these ideas. You'll see the second question there is to choose a poem which creates an atmosphere, which is positive or sad or dramatic. And again, you're invited to refer to appropriate techniques to explain how the poet creates that particular atmosphere. So that just gives you a sample of the kind of questions that might come up, and you should have that kind of question in mind as we go along through our study. Remember to try and incorporate planning into your essay, whichever one you go for. Perhaps maybe not so big a plan if it's poetry, but you should have a notion of where you're going with it, and to make sure that you don't deviate from your line of thought at the beginning. It's worthwhile maybe spending a few minutes just thinking about how you're going to approach the question, and whether you're going to work your way through the verses in chronological order or maybe adopt a more sophisticated approach by um, looking at uh, letting the central concerns govern your structure to your essay rather than just maybe going through it verse 1, verse 2, verse 3 and so on. Proofreading too is something that you need to factor in as well. Check through your essay, as I said earlier. You are going to be judged. That is one of the criteria to show how accurately you can write as well. So that's just a basic introduction to the critical essay at National 5, and now we can take a look at the poem that the class is going to study.